Let's see, what month is it? It's almost June. It's May, and it's a nice, cool spring day, and finally getting around to making some sausage recipes that I wanted to get to and just haven't had the time to yet. So today seemed like as good a day as any, and I'm gonna make some traditional Polish kielbasa, mostly traditional. And I thought I would just hit record, bring you guys along for the ride. Not going to edit any of it, so it's going to be what it's going to be, and I hope you enjoy. So a little tour of what we got going here. This is our spice mix. We've got some marjoram, some mustard seed, some brown sugar, some pickling spices, some salt, of course, some pink salt, some black pepper, some garlic powder, all of that great traditional stuff. Have the casings in the back there soaking in some water with just a little bit of baking soda in it. That's a nice trick if you don't know that one. Makes them really workable and nice, easy to use. And I do have some binder there on the left. That's a product called Sure Gel from Excalibur, and I don't generally use a binder in kielbasa, but I wanted to give it a shot today and see if it had a positive effect on texture or snappiness or anything like that. So we're going to give it a shot. I do also have my pork here. This is from the pigs that we raised and I slaughtered and processed the end of the winter. And it is partially frozen still, which is what we like to grind it. So that's right at 30 degrees. Yeah, everything's sitting right around 30 degrees. So that should be really nice to keep the fat from smearing or anything like that when we are doing our grinding. So I'm just gonna mix up the spices. So this has everything in it that is going in. I'm doing 13 pounds of meat today, so this is all measured out by weight. And I like to mix the spices in before I grind. You could leave out the mustard seeds if you wanted to have like whole mustard seeds in your end product, and you could mix them in after the grind is done, but I'm just gonna mix them in today. You still get big chunks of mustard seed in there and the texture is still great. So just break up all that nice dark brown sugar. All right. And I'm just gonna spread this in here evenly. And give it a nice mix. This kielbasa is for me and my family, so anybody who has any comments about me not wearing a beard net or a hair net or an apron or anything like that, this is just for me and my family. So. Make sure everything gets coated. There we go. I'm just going to let this sit here for a minute. This is approximately a 70-30 fat ratio. That's what I was going for. I didn't get too technical with measuring that out. Kind of eyeballed it, but should be good. Besides the meat being really cold, I've also got the grinder head and the auger and the knife blade and the plate in the freezer. So I'm just going to grab those quick and set up the grinder. especially because it's not winter, it's spring. My shop is not quite as cool as usual, so it is probably only about 48 degrees outside in western Massachusetts right now, end of May, but still, it's always good when you're making sausage to have everything be absolutely as cold as possible. So that's what we are going for. So today I'm gonna do first I'm gonna do a coarse grind, and then I'm gonna grind it a second time through a finer plate. It's kind of fun to play with the different plate sizes to affect the texture of your sausage. So with a kielbasa, for example, you could trim all the fat off and do the fat and the lean separately, and you could do do the meat on a coarse plate and the fat through a finer plate, and then you'd end up with some nice texture in your kielbasa, kind of bigger chunks of the meat and finer chunks of the fat. Lots of different ways to do things. So I'm just going to dump all this right in my hopper. So we'll do the coarse grind first, and I always load my hopper up with a few pieces before I turn the power on, just to make sure it's not running dry through there as much as possible. And here we go with the coarse grind. This was really cold to begin with, so I'm not going to have to put it back in the freezer before I do the second grind. But depending on how you're set up, sometimes it's necessary between grinds to chill that meat down again. Today, I think I'll be just fine. There's our coarse grind, and I'm just gonna try to pick up any of the seasonings that were left in the bottom of the tote, and we're gonna change this plate out quickly. Just set that to the side for now. And we're going to go with the fine plate. The second grind. back in the hopper. All right, grind number 2. Here we go. And that is just beautiful. No fat smearing. You can take a little extra planning to make sure that your sausage is super cold when you grind, but man, does it make a difference. And this was still partially frozen, and it's just coming out absolutely ideal. This is a Pro Cut grinder, by the way. It's a little pricey. It's, you know, a couple $1,000s. It's not like a true commercial grinder, but it is a step up from like a Lem or something like that. As you guys know, I do a lot of wild game processing, and you know, a couple hundred deer a season go through this thing. I've had it for years, and it never fails me. Just sharpen the knife and the plates occasionally. I have posted a video on the Butcher Shop page on Facebook a few times of how to sharpen the knife and plate on a grinder, keep them nice and sharp. That's the other thing that makes such a big difference when you're doing sausage and you don't want that fat to smear. Just have a nice sharp grinder parts. And you can, yes, you can sharpen the plate as well as the knife. So check out that video if you haven't seen it. I'm just gonna put a little bit more back through, try to make sure we get everything out. Just gonna push this grinder out of the way, and I'm gonna change my gloves up so we keep everything nice and sanitary. Lots of discussion on these processing pages about whether or not you need to wear gloves. And I tell you what, changing gloves is real easy. Seems to keep the cross-contamination down for me, for sure. All right, so now it's time to get that protein extraction that we want. I'm gonna add the binder in at this point. So there are different binders you can use, but this one is a product by Excalibur called Sure-Gel. Always kind of experimenting. That's one of the fun things with sausage. I've got some water here too, bottled water. That's been sitting in the freezer, so it is also ice cold. So I'm just going to add a bit of water to start. Maybe we'll wash the seasoning bowl out with it and make sure we get all the seasoning. And then how much water you want to add is kind of an eyeball thing for me too. There's kind of a texture, a tackiness that I'm trying to accomplish. Ooh, that's cold. So I'll just add some and then start mixing. And see how it turns out, and then maybe add a little more if I need to. Boy, this grind looks like it came out just perfect. Can really see the separation between the meat and the fat. I'm going to add the rest of this water. And open a second bottle and just add just a bit more from that one. And this part takes a little patience if you're mixing by hand. Sometimes I use a mixer, but it's a relatively small batch today, so I thought I would just mix it up by hand. I do love these lug liners, but sometimes when you're mixing like this, they are kind of a pain, but saves so much time in the cleanup and keeps everything really sanitary. So I can really tell I have plenty of water in here now. So I'm just gonna keep mixing this up until I feel like the protein extraction is where I want it to be. It's getting nice and sticky. You can see it's starting to really stick to my hands, which is what we're looking for. I don't want that crumbly sausage. Ooh. Really sticky. I'm pulling my gloves off. I like doing these unedited videos. There's so much stuff out there on social media these days that's like curated and just, you know, Instagram ready, like commercials. And I like to see myself, I like to see the whole real process when this stuff is going on. I don't want to just see some polished studio end product. I want to see all the challenges and how people solve them. This is getting really perfect now. Smells amazing. That spice mix in there. So we can try that again. Pretty tacky. I'll go a little bit further. This part is so important. I've made a lot of sausage over the years, and it's really hit home how important it is to get the proper protein extraction if you want your sausage to not be crumbly and your casings to be nice and snappy and everything to adhere to those casings and so they don't wrinkle up on you. It really gives you the best end product if you take the time to really do this right. Right, I think I'm there. Super sticky. All right. Yeah, lose these gloves so I can set up the sausage stuffer. The stuffer that I'm using, I've also had really good luck with. I don't have any affiliate deals. I'm not associated with any brands in particular, but I have used a fair bit of different stuff, and so happy to share what works well for me. But today I'm going to be using this Walton's 25-pound electric stuffer. So we'll just get that set up. Took me a long time to decide to buy an electric stuffer. I used a manual one for several years. Got pretty good at doing it all by myself, but man, the electric stuffer is super nice. Especially when you got the foot pedal for it. So plug that guy in. Get that set up. That's the canister. Move this back a little bit so maybe you guys can see a little better. All right, let's see. Stuffing horn we're going to go with. All right, I had to push pause there for a second because I couldn't find a little collar that holds the stuffing horn onto the canister here, so that's where I disappeared to. Won't look like I disappeared to you all because the video will be stitched together. All right, stuffing horn on. I'm gonna glove back up. We'll get all the sausage mix into that canister. So as far as getting the meat into the canister, no crazy tricks there, but it is good to try to get all the air pockets out if possible. So what I like to do is just make like a nice ball of sausage mix and then just kind of slam it in there. Repeat that process until the canister's full. Use my hand to kind of pack it in. This is nice and tacky. Should be able to get all this in there. Like I said, it's a 25-pound canister. We got 13 pounds of meat plus a little bit of water, probably maybe 15 pounds total now, which will be a nice big batch of kielbasa. We're really close to a beautiful place to go boating here in the summer, really nice lake, and it's one of my family's favorite things to do, get out there on the lake, and this makes a great thing to bring along. Stop on the lake shore and get a little campfire going. Grill up some fresh veggies and some kielbasa, some venison sausage, whatever we have around. But I do love this traditional kielbasa recipe. My family is, on my mom's side, is Polish. And this recipe is from the 60s, so it's an old one. It's a great one. I like to think my great-grandmother would be proud. All right, get this canister in place. cutting board up here. All right, and I'm just gonna go wash my hands because I like to use my bare hands when I'm casing sausage. It just gives me a little more control. So I'm gonna pause for one more time, go wash up. All right, back and set up, ready to go here. Just gonna load a bit of casing on the stuffing horn here. I find it works really well if you just get the stuffing horn wet first. And like I said, there's a little bit of baking soda in this water, which makes these a little slippery and easier to work with. You can see that's sliding on there really nice and easy. And I'm not in a rush today. Like I said, I'm just doing this for myself, so kind of just enjoying it. So I'm going to take my time here. I can tie a knot. There we go. And the way I usually do this with kielbasa is just one link at a time. I like to tie them off so I can hang them individually and they stay together that way. Then in the smoker, I can hang them and I don't have to worry about them falling down. So we'll just put this on high so we can get this cylinder pushing down. The electric stuffer is so nice. So you'll be able to hear it kind of change sound as it gets close to where the level of the meat is. See condensation on here, that meat's still super cold. And it should be getting there any minute now. And there it is. So I like to just poke a few little air holes in the end of that. And I'm going to turn this to slow. Like I said, I'm not in a hurry. I'd rather have the control. So, and there we go. You kind of just get the size you want. Somewhere around there. One of the electric stuffers, you can back it off just a little bit. And like I said, I know it takes extra time, but today I'm just going to be cutting this off and tying these. Whew. All right, so there's our kielbasa, and I'm going to put you guys on time lapse so we don't have to stay here forever. All right, so that is the end product. Like I said, that's about 15 pounds of kielbasa. It probably looks like they're about a pound each. And the last step I'm going to do here, just for the sake of doing it, is these are stuffed really well because the stuffer's good and I have some experience doing it, so they're not full of air pockets or anything, but I do like to just prick my sausages just to make sure there's no extra air in there. These look wonderful. You probably can't hear it, but I can hear just the littlest bit of air escaping from these. Which, I don't know. I could do experiments, I guess, and see if it makes any difference, but I like to set myself up for success as much as possible. So take the time to do the extra step. And we'll just throw these guys back in the tub here. So these are going to sit in the refrigerator overnight just to let the cure do its job. So you might know that curing salt has to convert in order to do its job. So unless you put an accelerator of some kind in there, you need to give it some time to cure. So that's what we're going to do. Let these cure overnight, and then tomorrow they're going to go on the smoker, and I will show you guys that as well. Hope you enjoy the video. See you tomorrow. Okay, it's early morning. The morning after we made the kielbasa yesterday. Rainy, miserable, actually kind of beautiful spring day here in Western Mass. And I'm going to put these kielbasa on the smoker. We're using the Wi-Fi enabled Smoking It Pro Series smoker. I haven't had this very long, and it has been an amazing, amazing tool. Just a really nice smoker. The smoke schedule I'm going to use is the first hour and 20 minutes is just going to be really low, like 120 degrees to dry things out, dry the casings out, and get them ready to accept smoke. I'm not going to start the smoke until the second stage. So after that first hour, we'll bump up the heat, add the smoke, and then we're just going to keep it nice and slow, keep bumping up the heat a little bit every hour or two until it hits the internal temp that we're looking for. Like I said, it's Wi-Fi enabled, so I've got the app on my phone, and I can monitor everything, and it's all automatic. So it'll just sit here and do its job. Be great. I've got it mostly loaded up, but these are those beautiful kielbasa, all cured, looking really, really nice. Make sure everything has lots and lots of space in there. Nothing's touching. Plenty of room. Close it up. I'm going to add the pellets now, even though I'm not going to start the smoke yet. This is a cold smoke generator on the side of this unit. So I'm not using the wood box today. I'm using the cold smoker because the temps are going to be pretty low. And I want to make sure we get really good smoke. So that's a really cool unit. Air pushes through this pump, through this little firebox on the side, and that's independent of the heating element inside, so it'll produce smoke even if there are no temperatures, even if the thing's not on. So we'll turn the switch on, make sure it's gonna start running. Oh, I forgot to put the probe in. Well, I'm gonna put the probes in. I'll bring you guys back when I start the smoke. All right, we are back out at the smoker. First hour is up. Take a quick peek. And those look really good. Nice and dry, ready for the smoke. So I'm just gonna get the cold smoke generator going. So I've got the air pump turned all the way up, pushing air through this smoke box. Get this lit. Really, really like this cold smoke generator. It's so easy to control. So we should start to see a bit of smoke. As it gets going. Let's see. Bit of smoke coming there. Maybe we'll give it a little boost one more time. There we go. Now you can see good plume of smoke starting to build. So now that we've got the smoke rolling, the smoker is gonna step up automatically its temp to about 135 now, and we're gonna let it take smoke for about an hour and a half at that temp, and then it's gonna step up again to 155, cook there for a little while, and a final ramp up to 175 to finish it off, and then we're gonna throw it in an ice bath. So I'll bring you guys along for all of it. All right, the timer just went off. Food temp, we're at 145. Just gonna shut down the smoker and take these out for a first look. Ooh. Those are looking just incredible. My goodness. Color, so perfect. These are going to go right in an ice bath to stop that cooking. And help it adhere to the casing. Holy cow. Guys, if you've never done your own kielbasa or smoked sausages at home, this is just, you can't beat it. It doesn't get any better. Woo. Beautiful. One small one here. I don't know how well you guys can see the color on that. Probably not too well, but let's take it over here. That is absolutely perfect. Smoking it smoker did so well. So we'll let those sit in that ice bath just for a minute to stop that cooking process. And that is the end result. Once they're cooled, we'll let them bloom a little bit, let that color get even richer, and then they'll get vacuum sealed. We'll have them all summer. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for more.